For over 10,000 years, there's been two Mechanicums. The Mechanicum we see in Warhammer 40k on the tabletop that is part of the Imperium, and the Mechanicum that believes themselves to be the true Mechanicum, the servants of the true Omnissiah, claiming the Emperor is a false god and a false Omnissiah that has steered them away and locked away the technology that they worship. So today we're going to be talking about the Dark Mechanicum and everything they have entail, just in case GW ever actually gets everything in gear and gets us a Dark Mechanicum army. If they do, that may be the first Mechanicum army that I'm going to play, because they're cool, but I really don't want to play the Imperial Mechanicum. I play Knights, obviously, but I don't want to paint and deal with all the Scutari and all the little guys, especially when their rules kind of suck. But let's talk about the Dark Mechanicum, where it started and where it's going, and enjoy the video. So this all started back during the Horus Heresy and a little bit before, when they formed a schism in Mars about things like artificial intelligence and the use of more warp-centric technologies. The schism initially started with a simple game of politics. One faction would lean a little bit heavier to the pro-AI and pro-warp technology side, while the others would lean a little bit more towards the Imperial edicts. And initially, this was just a simple political spat, per se, where both sides tried to politically maneuver each other into a corner and force one side to back down versus the other. The Emperor backed the pro-Imperial edict side, but as we know, pre-heresy, the Emperor was not very heavy-handed with much, besides the orcs. He was pretty brutal with orcs. But most of what he did was very almost laissez-faire with the Mechanicum especially. He let them go explore on their own, conquer territory, set up forge worlds, and spread their influence throughout the galaxy, while also ripping the galaxy apart looking for STCs. Unlike the rest of humanity, which was under the Great Crusade, the Mechanicum kind of did what they wanted to do. They folded the Titan legions and the Knight houses into their fold mostly, and really had a stranglehold on technology as a whole, requiring the Emperor to kind of play ball with whatever the prominent position was in the Imperium. Well, the schism broke apart when Horus betrayed the Emperor. This opportunity that Horus provided for the Dark Mechanicum, as they're called now, to embrace warp technology and artificial intelligence was something far beyond what they ever had hoped. And Horus was willing to offer it to them and give it to them freely. This led to Mars being ripped apart in a civil war that waged throughout the entire Horus Heresy, and actually technically extending through the Siege of Terra. The insanity and chaos stripped especially the Loyalists of the technology and equipment they needed in order to survive and to fight. Horus had planned for this and had outmaneuvered his opponents, and had collected a lot of the more modern gear and had backstocked a lot of stuff to help him in the fights later on, which is one of the big things that helped him succeed as far as he did. Unfortunately, for everyone in this conversation, Horus gave in completely to chaos, as did four of his brothers. They embraced the Chaos Gods and fully enveloped themselves in the warp and its contaminants. This led to the dissolution of the pro-Horus faction and led to a scattering of the Chaos pro-Imperium and collapsed the Chaos pro-Mechanicum faction. And this is where the Dark Mechanicum was truly born. They sided mostly with Perturabo and his beliefs that the warp should be controlled and mastered, not surrendered to and worshipped, like Lorgar, Horus, Angron, and many others believed. And this schism also created a separate schism inside that faction, where you had the Chaos worshipping side and the chaos enslaving side. This schism led to a lot of issues, especially in the early years, where even the Dark Mechanicum had its own schisms. Some sought worship of different gods, some sought to enslave the demons, and in reality, this may have led to the rise of Vashtor to a whole nother level of power. And frankly, this may be where the Dark Mechanicum is going to come in later on. But throughout this history, we get to see how technology is warped by the beliefs and the thought processes of those involved. And in reality, some of these guys probably just needed some more energy in order to just get a grip on what they were trying to think and trying to accomplish instead of giving themselves up to the warp. And in order to do that, they needed my sponsor for this video, W Energy. I have become an energy drink fiend over the last decade or so. I've struggled to find one that I really like. But with my sponsor, W, that all changed almost overnight. I was able to find energy drinks I like the Japanese yuzu flavor and Japanese soda and all that fun stuff, as well as really cool drinkware. I've become a fan of Freerin lately, and they just collab with them for some really cool bottles and things like that, as well as cool merch. So if you want to try out a clean, healthy energy drink that has a lot less negative effects than anything else, the only thing you're going to get from W is a caffeine boost, unlike a lot of the other energy drinks where you're going to be feeling sick, or sometimes they just taste horrible, and you want to look cool drinking it, just like I do. Check out w.gg and use code WARGAME, which is going to pull up right here, for 10% off. w.gg, code WARGAME. If you enter that code, you'll get 10% off your first order, as well as any subsequent orders as well. And that goes to help sponsor the channel today, and have to give another shout out to my longest sponsor, W, once again. So, let me get some more energy, and we'll get back to the video. After their failure at the Siege of Terra, the heretics fled into the Eye of Terror. I always screw those up, so if I overemphasize, that's why. There was actually a time when I was really confused because I thought the Eye of Terror was the Eye of Terra, and it was really annoying for a little while to try and figure it out. Especially since I started with audiobooks when it came to the lore, not written books. But anyways, that's a sidetrack. In the Eye of Terror, the Dark Mechanicum sought out and embraced the Heretek's Forge, a place where they could enslave demons into massive demon engines. Things like the Forge Fiend and the Mauler Fiend. These demon-possessed machines turned into great tools used by several of the different legions. And by doing this, they quickly established themselves as a nexus and go-between for a lot of the darker Space Marine chapters, as well as the heretics and the cultists that had followed them into the warp. And just like their Imperium-loving brothers, they actually embraced Space Marines and brought them into the fold as well, creating warpsmiths. These warpsmiths are basically your tech marines of the Chaos Space Marine legions. We don't know a lot about them. We know they are able to wield both the warp and technology and combine them to dark means through dark pacts, but there's not a lot of lore around them. On top of that, the Dark Mechanicum built their own army as well. Like we talked about, they built demon engines, but they also built Dark Skitarii, Dark Rangers, and corrupted every bit of technology and weaponry that they had, creating twisted versions of the Imperium and the reality that they thought they wanted. This led to artificial intelligence, corrupted knights, even corrupt titans that used sound attacks and corrupt a binary in order to stagger and capture their foes to corrupt them as well. And in the lore, they actually even dabble into anime mori, the attempt to reinvigorate and reincarnate flesh to bring someone back to life. All of these dark things led to a corrupt state that has taken them far beyond the flesh is weak mentality of the Imperial Mechanicum. They're now fully embracing the corrupt intelligences of the warp, pairing them with artificial intelligences and adding metal. It's something that I would love to see, but I think in Warhammer 40k, at least on the tabletop, you only really get to see kind of with the Drukhari and a little bit with some of the demon engines that we see in the Chaos Space Marines chapters. The next thing we see them getting up to beyond what we just talked about is something that the Emperor had completely forbidden, and that is the creation of superweapons and extreme hellish devices. These devices are used throughout a lot of the stories. We see this often with Vashtor and Abaddon as they attempt to breach normal space and take down the Imperium together. These uses of hidden away Hellforges throughout the galaxy, as well as in the Eye of Terror, have given them opportunities to wield things like supernovas and create them and cause them and twist them to their own means, creating almost explosions of hellfire mixed with the horrific radiation and destruction that a supernova can wield. They've also created super titans with horrible, twisted, mangled bodies that can rip hive cities to shreds in seconds. They've created computer viruses that can corrupt their Imperium-loving opponents and rip them to shreds and corrupt them before they even know what's going on. They've even gone so far as creating re-education programs where they can steal, capture, or coerce tech priests and citizens from the hive worlds of the Imperium and bring them over to corrupt them slowly, make them feel important, and twist their beliefs to suit what the Dark Mechanicum wants. And these re-education programs and structures have led to the loss of a lot of knowledge for the Imperium, including a lot of lost STCs. So if you've liked this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you ring that little bell, you'll get notified anytime we have new videos coming out. So make sure you keep track of that and you watch it as soon as you can. I appreciate all the comments below. I try and read them as much as I possibly can. I have been horrible at it over the last few months as I've been getting my new book ready. But I promise I will be doing more of that here in the near future. Now that that's done, let's talk about what this leaves for the future of the Dark Mechanicum and why I hope Games Workshop will bring them to the tabletop. With a lot of the current lore, we've seen a lot of re-emergences of Primarchs and Legions, especially recently the Iron Warriors, as well as other guard units and things like that that are finally coming to the forefront as Games Workshop expands their manufacturing and design centers. And I think the Dark Mechanicum may be one of their sneaky big releases for 11th edition. It will fit the narrative, especially with the Lionel Johnson branch of the narrative, and will provide a very unique storyline to give their lore some more depth. We've seen little bits and pieces of Dark Mechanicum scattered throughout books for dozens of years. And bringing them to the forefront in a story showing us the dark reality of what technology can be is something that I would love to see, especially given the current climate with artificial intelligence. There's a lot of back and forth on whether it's good or not, very similar to the Schism during the Horus Heresy. And Games Workshop has taken a very strong stance against artificial intelligence. So this might be the time to bring that into the lore and show a Dark Mechanicum fleet squaring off against Lionel Johnson, wielding corrupt intelligence that is as smart as the Lion, putting him on the back foot and forcing him to retreat against that technology until he can overcome it and outsmart it. I think that storyline would be a fascinating one for early 11th edition and would give you the opportunity to introduce the Dark Mechanicum as a whole. On top of that, we've heard a lot that a lot of the modelers loved making the Mechanicum in the first place. They loved going outside of the box and doing that almost steampunk feel and making them very different from any other forces in existence. And I think the Dark Mechanicum could be another major play for those sculptors and designers to really bring out a whole nother side of their abilities that we may not have been able to see. We know Grimdark is popular with games like Trench Crusade becoming extremely popular right now, as well as other branches of tabletop wargaming, but I think this may be their sneaky ticket in. While they are constantly harping on the Space Marines, bringing back maybe even Perturabo, along with the Dark Mechanicum and more Iron Warriors, may be a huge win for a large expo or convention towards maybe end of fall, early like Christmas time. And you would see a slew of buyers flooding to them. You hear it online all the time. And I think it would be the first big win for Games Workshop of 11th edition so far. They've had small wins here or there. Even like the launch box hasn't been super exciting for me. I don't play orcs in 40k, and the Space Marines are ones I all have. I literally need to buy the Landspeeder and the Jump Captain and maybe the Vanguard Veterans. I have to decide if I want to add them to our channel chapter up there. But having a Dark Mechanicum release may be the thing they need to really hype up 11th edition and give people a reason to get back into it. Because as of right now, they really haven't. From what I've seen, Warhammer 40k videos are starting to get a lot less views on YouTube. I see it on all of my other social media as well. Warhammer Fantasy is spiking. Warhammer The Old World is becoming extremely popular again, especially since both Age of Sigmar and 40k seem to be in a little bit of a slump. I know the pre-edition slumps are common for these games, but this one feels very different from the 9th to 10th slump. The 9th to 10th slump for me was a little bit slumpy. You had the Primaris issues leading into it, but this one just feels like no one's excited about it. The models are getting more and more expensive, the boxes are getting more and more expensive, and people have less and less time for the hobby. And making little tweaks here and there and offering slightly adjusted box sets may cater to new players, but you're losing a lot of your current fan bases. I know some orc players that are going to be very excited about their boxes because the new boys look really cool, as well as several of the units that are going to be in the box. I fully suspect that we're going to see a lot of Space Marines on eBay here in the next 6 months. Things like the Vanguard Veterans, the Jump Chaplain, and the Landspeeder will probably be able to be purchased for far less than Games Workshop is offering them at their stores. So, if anyone from Games Workshop is watching this, my recommendation would be the Dark Mechanicum, and tie it to the Iron Warriors to get a Perturabo release. And I think that's going to be your big boon, even if it's a year into 11th edition. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that's going to be one of the big things that's going to save 11th edition for Games Workshop? Or do you think I'm just high on something and not even close to right? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got a lot of viewers who aren't subscribed right now. I know YouTube makes it really weird sometimes, including going so far as unsubscribing people randomly if it considers you a bot because you don't comment ever. And once again, make sure you ring that little bell so you get notified anytime we have new videos coming out. And I will see you guys in the next one.